yung exemption ng sales sa tax because under the co-op law, meron pong exemption sa taxation ang cooperative. So, dun po sa kasi pinag-usapan namin na model, mukhang medyo meron pong kaiba, no? Hindi siya ganyan ang nangyayari. That's why, ang nakita ko po dun sa findings ng CDA, we were provided with a copy of the findings ng CDA when the microsellers cooperative was audited. Meron po dong recommendation na dapat i-record nila properly yung mga sales transactions at accordingly yung taxes that may be due doon parang dapat maibayad. So yun po, that's why I offered dito sa microsellers cooperative that we have to sit down and take a look really kung paano ba siya. Kasi the intention is to help yung pong microsellers, yung pong merchant. But the scheme that was used for tax purposes ay hindi po, mayroong pong exposure, may tax implication po on the part of the merchant. Kaya nga po, sabi ko, baka akala nyo, tinutulungan nyo, ay nung pala, nilulubog nyo sila sa kumunoy dahil may implication sa taxation na hindi po nakikita. Kaya, ang aking sinuggest is tignan po nating mabuti, pag-usapan kung paano para matulungan both the merchant and the co-op. Hindi po yung merchant lang kasi the co-op is also there. And the co-op is different from Lazada sales platform. It's another company. So medyo meron pong mga legalidad no, na sa taxation na kailangan natin tignan. At ito po ay kailangan maipaunawa din natin. Kasi yung pong nakasanayan, hindi necessarily po kasi yun ang tama. Kaya po kailangan natin tignan ano po ba ang dapat at tama na hindi po naman no, na magkakaroon ng mas complicated impact dun po sa mga sellers ninyo, micro-sellers ninyo, kasi habang tumatagal, baka po mas na-expose sila sa mas malaking tax obligation na hindi po nakikita. Now, with the meeting that we had, we saw already yung model and we are willing to help you on that. Now, yung pong sinasabi nyo kanina about the local government, I explained this already, that the local government have fiscal autonomy under the law, no? Sa local government code, meron po silang power na sarili nila for taxation na iba sa national government which is being collected by BIR. So ito po, iba na naman din. No? Medyo nagkakaroon ng complication tayo ng discussion but just the same, yung local government po siguro, tama din po kayo doon na mai-align pero ibang agency na po yun, local government na yan, at may karapatan, kakayahan, at nasa power po nila sa batas na po pwede silang magawa ng sarili nilang taxation. So, iba po yung national government, which is BIR side, and local government, which is po, yun po sa ating lahat ng mga cities, municipalities po, o local government natin. So, pag-usapan po natin yan ng maayos para po mas maintindihan. I would assume na intindihan naman po ninyo during the initial meeting that we had last week. No? Last week po yan, Mr. Las Marias. Sige po. Salamat.
Can I?
Thank you, Sir Janet. I think merong follow-up.
Yeah, yes, sir. We would be willing to sit down and discuss with the BIR, of course. Kasi for the longest time naman din, we've always been asking what's the legal framework by which we can work because as mentioned nga better ni JJ, our business model is unique. We're the only one in exist, at least of as far as we know, we're the only one of our existence, of our nature. So the rules haven't been written for us, which is why it was this would have been an opportunity for us to be able to be included in that framework. Hence, we put forward our business model. And I'd just like to clarify that the context naman of us being in the picture is not essentially to abet yung mga those who would not want to be paying taxes. The whole purpose of it really is just, as mentioned by Attorney JJ Ken, is just to incubate your microseller. Because there's all sorts of reasons why microsellers start out as informal in the first place. It's because the cost of compliance really in our current context is very expensive. It's not so much as the fear of the unknown as what Attorney Miss Asek Janet has mentioned, in that perhaps they just do not know ano nga yung compliance and what its actual costs are. It's not so much that as the fear of what is known. What do we know? Over 20,000 members, for example, only about 11,000 of these are actually active sellers. And of these 11,000, over 55% would make less than 250,000 in sales a year. Over 55% would make less than 250,000 a year. So if the cost of compliance is enforced on them at the onset, you have over 55% of these 11,000 whose income, however small, na at the end of the day is hindi naman taxable to begin with. You would simply lose their income to having, to the cost of compliance in the process. So, that defeats the whole purpose of why we're discussing an ITA in the first place, which at the onset we all agreed was to encourage people to flock to the e-commerce or digitalization, diba? Because you immediately cap out yung microsellers who, you will lose to the cost of compliance. So I hope what Attorney JJ mentioned earlier, that perhaps a model like ours could be subject to separate legislation so that it could be part of the process in order to aid those microsellers, because we would appreciate more organizations, more cooperatives like us who could be in the picture and help out these microsellers. So to the invitation by ASEC Janet in terms of us sitting down and ironing out all of these things, that's a welcome change for us, so that we could also finally align and as I said, we would also welcome if a separate legislation on how microsellers could be helped within a proper context and the proper framework could also be drafted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Baka po kasi hindi covered ng ano natin yan, ng ITA, IRR. However, meron po nga tayo yung e-commerce bureau under the ITA, and part po ng duties namin is to promote yung development ng e-commerce, and our team has taken note of yung concern natin para po dun sa ating mga micro sellers. So, we'll be discussing with you po further kung paano natin ma-develop yung e-commerce industry involving the microsellers. Do we